I kind of did,
Kind of.
but not really.
But I bet I
look,
have some stories that you don't know of. That's my point.
I, this will be interesting.
Yeah.
I'll say that I was in Hawaii at
Okay.
my
So not Southern
wife's,
Connecticut,
not
slightly
Southern
different,
Connecticut,
but no
very
view of
far.
the Long Island Sound. Unfortunately, that's a
No,
bummer.
none,
Yeah.
none.
What a bummer.
But my wife's family's from there, so it was like one of those mixed bags because it's like you're in a beautiful place and everyone
Hmm.
says, "Oh, that's amazing! You have family in Hawaii. That's so cool." And then you're like, "Yeah, but we mostly bounced from like house to house, having like small talk with distant relatives."
Sounds
So
terrible. Yeah,
it's
and warm weather, which sounds like an extra horrible bonus to me.
it was warm. It was warm.
Yeah.
Um, just so you know,
Hmm.
if you don't hear any sounds from now on, it's because Riverside decided the soundboard should just die.
Okay. No one knows what you're
Immediately.
talking about. Yeah.
Already died.
That's what
Already,
Riverside does.
already out.
Yeah, that's one of its new features, actually.
I think they just added that.
Yeah. 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 The sign-in process is more elaborate. So to make up for that, they killed some of the functionality of it. All right. I warn you, I have a lot here. So if you're one of the few breathing souls that likes what we do here, you're in for a treat. But if not, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you want to tune out after hour 4. But because let's be fair, Matt, you were gone. Our last show together was April 8th, I believe.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to cover here, and I promise you, I only picked the really big ticket items. I promise you. I don't think
Okay,
there's
I
any
don't
fluff in
believe
here.
that.
I don't think there's any fluff in here. All right, ready? Let's just get to it.
All right, let's do this before somebody stops listening.
And remember, give me a score. Give me a score. I got them in categories. Let's start with tech bro nonsense. There's always
Oh,
tech bro nonsense. Let's be fair. Tech bros essentially run our world,
can
whether
we
you would want to admit it or not. Yeah.
can we stop calling them tech bros? Can
Yeah,
we
go
call
ahead.
them
You
middle schoolers? Like
middle school data
like,
bro nonsense
isn't
losers.
it like what it is the the little wispy mustache
Yes.
you get when you're in middle school, like
Yes.
as a middle school male?
Sure.
Does that have a name? Can we call it that?
Bro tech
It's a pre-pube stash.
founder
whatever that
CEO
is.
stash. Yeah, what is that? Dual class
I d-
stash? Dual
I don't
class
know.
stash. Yeah.
A dual class wisp stash. I don't know. All right, go ahead. Go.
I'll start off with a bang here. Former Google CEO, and you could probably guess who that is. There's only one former Google CEO that's always in the news. He's the guy who likes like dropping tech bombs on people. His name is Eric Schmidt.
Oh, Schmitty. Yeah.
Yeah. Former Google CEO tells Congress. So this isn't him telling his buddies. This is him telling an actual organized body.
He might
That's
be telling
actually
his
you might be
buddies.
right. You might be right.
Yeah.
Former Google CEO tells Congress that 99% of all electricity will be used to power super intelligent AI, Matt. 99%. And somehow news stories like this go by and nobody seems to care.
No-
I don't,
nobody even
how do you
blinks.
not care about this? Here's a great quote from our great former Google CEO, Eric Schmidt. And this is not satire. Nothing on this show is actually satire. It's all real. What we need from you is we need the energy in all forms, renewable, non-renewable, whatever. It needs to be there, and it needs to be there quickly. That's
okay.
what he said.
Good.
99%. And by the way, one of the excuses he uses in begging Congress for all the electricity, of course, is China, right? He's like, if we don't get it,
Finally.
if me and my
China
billionaire buddies don't get it, what about China, guys?
China got
right?
it. Oh, wow.
At this point, can we just give it to China and see how they govern? Because the billionaires are not really doing it for me anymore.
I love that the only guardrails on AI now is like electric
Threat.
wires. Like it's electricity, right? Like they don't have enough of it because we're not regulating it. Sam Altman's
No.
out there
In
being
fact,
like,
I have a story about that later. Yeah,
we've basically given up on regulating anything anymore,
and it gets worse
ever.
week to week. Yeah, if
So-
you pay attention. Mhm.
So now, like, the constraints are actual physical constraints. Like, the only thing keeping our wispy stash billionaires from running, like, us into the ground is the fact that there's not enough electric wires to get them the energy they want. I
Yeah,
like
and
that.
and you kind of hinted at one of the problems, and one of the reasons that we're so vocal in advocating, like knowing who your directors are, having more of an ability to vote people in and out. I mean, we talk about not just having uncontested elections at corporations, but let's have some contested elections. And let's
Ooh,
learn
I love
about
your
the directors
words.
before we vote for them, because you're right, Matt. One of the issues might actually be that Eric Schmidt knows too many people maybe on Congress, because we see board members from Congress, we see CEOs now running for office. We just see everything going back and forth. I mean, hello, Elon Musk, Trump, they're
Yeah.
both basically CEOs of something shitty. So there you go.
Yeah.
So give me a score on this one.
This is then the score is 10. I care a lot.
Yeah, let's do that way. Sure.
0. I don't
Grade
care.
my ability to pick stories in general. Grade my editorial ability.
I care.
Come on. What?
But this is a
Yeah.
blowhard, right? Like it's
Okay, but a lot of what these blowhards actually advocate for, we get kind of close to, don't we? Do we
I don't
not?
know, this is how many times have I heard China, China, China?
Okay, I
and
hear
gimme,
you.
gimme, gimme. That's basically all this is, right?
Well, I think
China,
AI,
China, China, gimme, gimme, gimme.
I think AI in its absolute infancy is already up to like, is it 2% of global electricity consumption? So it's already at 2%.
Okay, well, it's only got then 97% left to go.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this a 6.
Oh, okay. I feel a little deflated by that.
I mean,
That
I don't
one
know what
scared
that
me the
means.
most.
I don't
Yeah,
know what that means.
I don't either.
I
Well,
vaguely care.
let's stick with let's just stick with this kind of nonsense. Let's stay with, what are we calling them? The wisp, the dual class stash,
dual class
wispy
wisp
bros.
stashes.
That's a terrible name. Meta comes in our headlines a few times on today's show. Meta says it's okay to feed copyrighted books into its AI model because they have no economic value.
Oh, okay. They have no economic value?
Yeah, so their lawyers are arguing essentially that the books are essentially worthless because they had an algorithm that tried to articulate the individual importance of each book, saying that a single book adjusted to the performance of machine language learning is less than 0.06% on industry standard benchmarks, a meaningless change no different from noise. So they're saying the book doesn't really affect the model, so essentially it is worthless because of that. That's why they are arguing that their scraping of over 7 million books from the pirated library called LiveGen is fine. It's fair use because the books as individuals, Matt, the individual books are worthless. This is Meta Platforms. This is the corporation. This is Mark Zuckerberg arguing.
Okay,
that,
well,
yeah.
what I wanted,
There's so much here wrong.
My read on this, well, first of all,
Well,
I love the
calm
revisionist
down.
history
Yeah.
because like didn't we lived through the MP3 piracy era?
Sure.
And
What was the big one? Napster. Napster was the big one.
We lived through the
Yeah.
Napster era, in which the artist actually sued Napster, but not just the artist. It was like Time Warner, Virgin
Sure.
Records, like Atlantic Records,
Yeah.
like the record companies were suing Napster.
Successfully
because-
suing.
Successfully
Yeah.
suing Napster, saying like you are pirating our material. It turns out that there's no one except a couple of guys in in armchairs with smoking pipes who cares about the books. Like where are the massive publishers saying like what are you talking about? There's no economic value. There's literally a business model
Yeah.
about finding talent and publishing the books. That notwithstanding, if you substitute the word book for the word person,
I was wondering if you're going to get there. Yeah.
aren't they effectively saying like social that you can apply the same argument to
Yes,
social media?
absolutely.
Each individual
If there are a
doesn't
billion
matter.
users, right, that only in their aggregate do people matter.
So congratulations, Mark, for outing
Yeah.
the entire game, which is we literally care nothing about humans, humanity, anything creative, interesting, art. We don't care about any of that. We only want to amass as much stuff as possible so that we can use it. Like it's so
How about-
fucking cynical.
How about the fact that beyond arguing that they have no economic value, how about that they use a pirated library? It's just a little bit
That's
shocking
not
to me.
shocking. That's not
Really?
shocking to me. Yeah,
And
that part's not shocking.
And there's proof that Meta employees were actually stripping the copyright pages from the downloaded books.
That's not shocking at all.
But they must have known that someone. I mean, they were stripping them for a reason. No, I mean they knew that eventually. Oh my god! I mean, okay.
But
What do you?
But that's not like that seems like
I'm a loss for words here.
Isn't that like three dudes in a basement talking
Sure.
to each other? Like,
Sure.
oh, dude, I use this library all the time to get books. Let's just download the whole thing and feed that into the AI. That seems like, and now they're in a lawsuit and they have to claim that any one book doesn't matter. Like, I would love for them to say, you know, like I didn't like Moby Dick, but I would love for them to go out and say like Melville doesn't matter. Like he or you know, Ginsburg doesn't matter.
Well, how about the book that I'm writing? Mark Zuckerberg is an a-hole. Does that one matter?
That one doesn't matter.
Won't matter. Yeah. What's your score on that one?
I care a lot about this because this is the entire ethos. Like in its entirety, this is the ethos of the Wispy Stash Tech community.
I would think these two reasons alone, these first two stories, I can convince some of my friends who still use things like Instagram to just stop using Instagram. But even then, they'll be like, they'll be angry about these two stories. They'll give me like a long monologue about why they're bad, why they're ruining their kids' lives. But they won't get rid of WhatsApp or Instagram. They still won't do it.
Their entire business model is an attention economy. If you give them your attention, if you go to the platform, they win. That's it, period. Get off it entirely. I guess it's a 9 because it's got me riled up.
Ooh.
Go to the next one. I want to talk
the next one's stupid, so maybe this one calm you down.
All right.
Do you know about the Jeff Bezos penis rocket launch? Were you aware of this?
I watched it. The penis
Did it happen? Did it happen in Hawaii? No.
No. I mean, I like saw pictures of it piercing the atmosphere or whatever.
So here's a headline summing that
impregnating the mesosphere.
Yes. Lauren Sanchez, that's the wife, the fiance of Jeff Bezos. The headline is Lauren Sanchez in space was Marie Antoinette in a penis-shaped rocket. And the subheadline here is Katy Perry boasts about ridiculous rocket launch while NASA is scrubbing history of women in space. That's something actually happening while they sent like a bunch of rich women into space is that the pictures of women and people of color, astronauts, engineers, scientists are being removed from NASA's hallways, part of a DEI purge. The word inclusion has been removed from one of their core pillars. NASA personnel have been directed to remove mentions of women in leadership positions from its website. So there you go. That's but Bezos
just
is kind of
the women though, right? Like the men are still
people
up on
of color
the wall?
Too. People of color. So I guess if you're a black man, I guess you're removed. Yeah. So this is Bezos. What Bezos is playing like a little bit of a deception game. What's Bezos doing? Why is he sending a bunch of women into space in a penis-shaped rocket?
Do you think it was Bezos's idea, or do you think it was Lauren's idea?
I guess I don't really know or care. Yeah.
I like literally. This is the thing I could care least about on Earth. Right.
Yeah.
Like, send them all into space. What do I care?
The thing that upsets me a little bit about all these stories is that rightfully so, there are a lot of articles kind of claiming that Katy Perry was a hypocrite because she had a long history of fighting against climate change, although she's kind of stopped recently, and now she's kind of in this stupid manosphere rocket ship that has no point other than just space tourism. But they always just they always just find a woman to kind of kick her. They're not upset at Bezos. They're not upset at CEOs. They're not upset. They kind of find like an out of it kind of celebrity or something.
No, you know what? The things that she was saying, like in front of
she
the
did say
rocket,
some stupid stuff. She said, I have a quote. She said, "It's about a collective energy and making sense and making space for future women. It's about this wonderful world that we see right out there and appreciating it. This is all for the benefit of Earth." That's what she said.
Yeah, no, it's not. Shut up. I don't mind dunking on Katy Perry for saying stupid shit in front of a penis-shaped rocket, flown, like built by a billionaire, and where he's sending up his socialite fiance. I could.
As he's dismantling the editorial process at the Washington Post.
Yeah, exactly. I care very much about scrubbing history. I'm not a big fan of history scrubs.
Yeah.
But launching these, I don't care. And just for the record, when you talk about a penis rocket, it literally looks like a circumcised penis. That's not like a exaggeration.
It's like I don't love that kind of middle school humor usually, but I remember you were joking about it back in the day. But then when I looked at it, it's really shocking.
It's really jarring, how penisy it is.
Yeah,
it's really uncomfortably penisy.
It is. I agree.
So I give this a 0. I don't care. We spent a lot of time talking about something I don't care about.
Well, let's move on to OpenAI. This category is called OpenAI nonsense. I have 3.
This is just an extension of the last category.
Yeah, 3 juicy OpenAI stories. First, OpenAI is secretly building a social network. Do you know that? To compete maybe with Elon Musk. Did you read that when you were away?
No, I did not read
And what do
that.
you think about this?
I think I'll never use it ever.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Would you use it over Elon Musk's social media company?
No, what's the difference?
Yeah,
They're
okay.
all dual class middle schoolers.
I don't know.
What do I give
well,
a fuck?
that's one of the things they're suggesting is that this is just part of a rivalry. That Sam Altman is just doing this because they're fighting.
No, they're doing it because they're going to run out of content to feed to their machine.
Okay, interesting.
So the genius move of Musk was to put Twitter in his AI bot.
Sure.
To make
which he can do because he owns. It's not like Zuckerberg stealing pirated books.
Well, he actually combined the companies, right? Isn't X AI and X owned together now?
At whatever valuation that he deems
whatever
worthy.
he thinks.
Yeah.
I mean, he's turning them into everything into a meme stock anyway. But it is very smart to effectively have he bought a bunch of users who put shit on a platform. And then he just can feed all of that into his AI.
Why are people still using that platform? I don't even understand that one.
Well, here's the problem with building a social network from scratch right now. If you're OpenAI, you need like hundreds of millions of users to actually get enough content to be useful. Then the AI is just a jerk internet troll.
Does ChatGPT not already have at least tens of millions of users? I thought ChatGPT was pretty popular already. No.
It is, but it's like all people do is ask it questions, so it can learn
How about that's
questions.
the social media network? Why don't we just see all the questions?
Well, I just like that we think the solution is for millions of internet trolls to teach the robots what it is to be a person. You know that people aren't that way. They aren't the way they are in real life on the internet, right?
Yeah.
Tech bros,
Actually, I
know
hadn't,
that, right?
I hadn't considered that. Yeah, that is true. It's a good point. It's a fake version of humanity, right?
It's the worst fake version of humanity.
Yeah.
The one with no moral compass and no empathy and
where women are young women are being shamed into body dysmorphia, and young men are pretending to be warriors and threatening to kill everybody. Right?
Yeah, that's what the AI will be.
Yes.
Right?
I hadn't even considered that. That's a very fair point. They're not even capturing a real version of humanity, because when you meet people in public, generally speaking, people are pretty polite. They're pretty helpful.
Yeah, for sure. They may hate you quietly, but they rarely say it to your face.
Yeah, unless you live in the Northeast, thank God, where you'll get the sarcasm immediately.
That's the funny part about living in the Northeast. Yeah. People hate people from the Northeast because they think they're cold and crass.
We're honest.
We tell you to your face what we think of you.
Or we ignore you, and that's also our way of telling you something.
We're literally saying, I don't care about you. But you can't teach that to an AI. The AI can't walk around.
I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, I like that.
This is horrible. I think it's stupid. I give it a 2. I don't care. I'm going to use it, but
I love
horrible.
how meaningless the scoring of this game has become. Okay, how about this one? I handed it this one. This one seems like a big deal, although you're going to say this is just the way it is. But OpenAI updated its safety framework, but no longer sees mass manipulation and disinformation as a critical risk. So they're saying they're gonna stop. Sam Altman is a horrible person, Matt.
That's shocking news.
They're gonna stop assessing its AI models prior to releasing them for the risk that they could persuade or manipulate people. Instead, they're gonna address those risks through its terms of service, which is horrifying to me, which means, Matt, that they're going to monitor how people are using the models after they're already doing they're already
horrible
transgressing,
things.
which to me is the worst dropping of the ball. It's like,
No, that's everybody else's dropping of
I know,
the ball.
yeah, this one hurt me.
Sam
This one
Altman
hurt me.
basically walked out into the world
you didn't
and
have to do
said,
this. Didn't have to
we've
do
held
this.
ourselves to a higher standard than most people, and it's a pretty low fucking standard. But you know what? If everyone else is at the lowest possible standard, maybe we should be too. That's basically this.
And listen to this. To make it worse, is that previously OpenAI said that it would not release any AI model that presented more than a medium risk. So they have these different levels of potential risk, which is great. Now they are saying that they will consider releasing AI models that it judged to be high risk, as long as it has taken appropriate steps to reduce those dangers, whatever that means. And it would even consider releasing a model that presented what it called a critical risk if a rival AI lab had already released a similar model. Matt, this is like movie level evil, right? Like Lex Luthor shit, no?
That's fabulous.
What Sam is saying is if someone else is already about to ruin the world, then yeah, we too can ruin the world because we have to compete with them. It's all about competition, I suppose.
Wait, but how do you do that? They're not they're not like a for-profit company yet. They're still in the transition. So like
they got rid of
do this.
But they got rid of the board that pushed back on them. So who's going to stop them?
They
what
can't
are you
get
talking
rid of
about?
the mandate, can they?
But they're already overlooking the mandate. They're ignoring the mandate. The fired board members were trying to serve the mandate.
All right, I'm going to give this a 10.
I
don't know. I don't know.
This is this is next level to me. I don't know. This is like next level horrible to me. And again, part of the embedded reason here, of course, that I didn't actually write down in the notes is China, of course. Everything is this veiled. Everything is this veiled whisper that if you don't let us be evil first, they're going to be evil first, and then it's the wrong kind of evil. And
these middle stash wisp bros, these man flakes, they are China.
Yeah.
So when they say China, like anytime somebody, have you, you ever met those people who are like constantly accusing you of having done a thing, meanwhile they're doing the thing? Like that's like the human pattern, right?
You mean our president? Yeah.
Well, you're like looking for the
calling
thing
everyone
that
an
you
idiot
do
and a loser.
That you know is wrong in everybody else.
Sure.
Like that's what they're saying when they say China. They're
Yeah.
just saying like China because we're doing that, right? Like,
Yeah.
and we're afraid China's going to. This is what makes this the worst.
Yeah.
Is not that they're doing this.
What
makes this the worst?
Yeah.
Is that they know that they
can do it.
We've already failed. Like
no pushback.
We've learned this lesson. We failed at it. They set it up so they wouldn't repeat history. But they literally said, you know what? We'd rather repeat history and end up trillionaires than fucking do the thing that we learned doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
I'm giving this a 10, mostly because I don't know how to score any of these.
I'll try to change the mood here a little bit with one more OpenAI headline saying please and thank you to ChatGPT costs OpenAI millions, according to Sam Altman. So.
Ooh.
Being nice to your AI chatbot requires computational power that raises electricity and water costs.
Oh, now he's worried about it. So just be a dick like normal.
Well, it is funny. I do actually find myself when I use the chatbot, I do actually say please and thank you more often than I realize. Like I don't know why I do it. It's like I'm talking to the person at my doctor's office. I just kind of litter in pleases and thank yous. So. Now that I know it's costing Sam like a penny, I feel a little bit better about it, maybe.
Yeah.
I know you're not going to care about this one, but I had to throw it in.
Not only do I not care about this, but like you know what doesn't cost you any money, like doesn't use any water, doesn't cost any electricity, when you tell a real person please or thank you, rather than a stupid fucking chatbot. So if
unless it's a laborious, boring conversation, and you like drive them into dehydration because you're a horrible, insipid human being. Yeah,
that has happened. I'm sure. Somewhere.
And can I just Can I just add that Sam Altman was talking about this on Twitter, of all places? Like he's actually still using the platform, which I don't understand for the life of me. Yeah, just
He knows who
start a
owns
blog,
Twitter, doesn't
Sam.
he?
Start a blog. Yeah.
He knows who owns it.
So you're giving that a 0, which
I'm
makes
giving
sense.
that a 0. I'm sure that makes a lot of sense scoring wise.
Let's quickly move on. Antitrust nonsense. There's 2 big antitrust stories going on. First, Trump's Department of Justice has released its plan to restructure Google. And the headline essentially is that Google is angry, saying it hurts consumers, national security, and basically suggesting once again that if you mess with Google a little bit too much, you're opening the door for China.
You know what the worst part about this is?
Yeah.
So 2 things strike me about this. Number one, if it was the Biden DOJ, I would think like, okay, well, I don't have to
Lena
agree,
Khan.
but they
No,
probably
that was
have a
the- yeah,
plan,
that was the
right?
FTC,
Like
or the
they,
FTC, yeah.
they probably have thought they're working
through
with
it
the
a
company.
little
They're
bit,
thinking
yeah.
they're thinking something through. I don't know if
Yes.
they thought it all the way through, but
Might not be the
some of
perfect
it.
answer, but yeah.
We know for a fact that at the Trump DOJ they haven't thought any of it through.
Are you-
0 things have been thought through.
Is this like mildly political theater? The next headline is also about the antitrust trial going on at Mark Zuckerberg's Meta. What's going on? Why are the Trump bros? Why are they okay dismantling the monopolies of tech?
Because they thought they marginalized conservative voices and pimped.
So it's a bit of a
DEI.
political theater. So this is the same thing about going after American universities. The
Yeah,
American university and college system, which is like basically the envy of the world, essentially, that Trump is attacking, because making America great by dismantling our university system and dismantling their tech companies that the world also envies. Like it's it's out of line though of like Trump behavior. It's just a little strange to me. I don't know.
When Putin invaded the Ukraine, he said there were Nazis in the Ukraine. That's why he did it, right?
Despite the fact that Ukraine was run by a Jewish man, but yeah, sure.
Trump is invading, like the wispy tech bro monopolies and the educational powers here because anti-Semitism. Like
you think it's a leftist, an anti-Semitic leftist? Yeah,
but they are monopolistic, right? Like
that's true.
So
that's true.
They're not wrong that it is a monopoly that should be broken up. The worst part about this to me, is not even that. I'm sure Trump's DOJ is going to do it wrong, but it's that with Google, with Meta, like you've destroyed humanity. Mark has destroyed humanity.
Yeah, he's still destroying. Google, he's still young. He's still young. Still destroying.
They're talking about selling Chrome off. You know how much I like the fact that Chrome works with all my Google shit?
Yeah.
Like, it works well.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it's that. I know I'm giving like an evil empire my information, but this is actually a product that works.
You do have there are a lot of really good alternatives to Chrome too. So it's not like you're stuck using Chrome.
No, I know I'm not stuck using Chrome, but I sign in as my Google in Chrome. All of the docs like work perfectly in Chrome, and I can use them on any device.
Sure.
Like there's just lots of nice little things about it, I guess.
Yeah, nice nerdy. You mean nice nerdy organizational features?
Exactly.
Right. Whereas like Zuckerberg's control is over just like Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, the worst stuff.
The worst stuff.
That doesn't actually help you function as an office
no
worker
benefit for that shit.
No, I agree with you on that one. But so why don't you rate both of them? So the first one is about Google. The second one is about the antitrust trial going on at Meta. And I don't know, I have a bunch of things from that trial that I could highlight, but a lot of it is just stupid. Here are a couple that I thought were funny, is that they revealed in the antitrust trial that Sheryl Sandberg wanted to play Settlers of Catan. She wanted Mark Zuckerberg to teach her how to play a board game.
I don't get that. Why is it?
The other thing is that Mark Zuckerberg admitted that Facebook isn't really for friends anymore. He said the friend part has gone down quite a bit. It's turned into more of basically an entertainment space. So I don't know.
So by entertainment, he means the Fox News brand of entertainment, right? Where we get outraged about everything on
every possible thing. The one I love the most is that that these antitrust worries surfaced years ago. That Mark is on record of I think he's speaking to his board or he's speaking to company executives. This is in emails. This isn't gossip.
Not
saying,
Signal?
basically saying that we should consider the extreme step of spinning Instagram out as a separate company. Because he's saying that basically they're gonna, within 5 or 10 years, they're basically gonna force us to sell Instagram and WhatsApp anyway, because this is a fucking monopoly.
Because he knew it.
Yeah, and so they called him on it, and then he said in the trial, he says, asking him about this view at the trial, he said, "I'm not sure exactly what I had in mind then." That's what he's fucking said. I'm not sure exactly what I had in mind. I mean, right there, they should end the trial. Go, Mark, you're a liar. You're a loser. You're a child. We know exactly what you had in mind.
You had in mind this trial.
Yeah, this trial.
That's the thing that you had in mind then.
That should be the mic drop moment of the trial. It should be over at that point. But so why don't you rate how much you care about both of the antitrust trials? Google first and then Meta.
Well, Google, I care less about. I know like Google's in the worst position because it's a commercial. Like there's a pay to play with Google, right? So it hurts a consumer in a more real way. But I like Google more, the product. So for Google.
Yeah, and what Google's not doing that Mark Zuckerberg is doing is what Mark is doing is it's putting people like Dana White on the board. It just added a former Trump advisor, another Trump person to the board, Dina Powell McCormick, whose husband is a Republican senator. He was the former CEO of Bridgewater Associates. Mark is buying property in D.C. He's cozying up to the Trump empire. Whereas Google, I don't think they know what to do because they hate him and they're pretending to like him.
He's on his knees like a little boy, like at the feet of daddy,
begging bully. Yeah,
what a fucking sycophant suck up.
On
top of having arguably the most punchable face of every CEO.
Okay, now you're an anti-Semite. Yeah. But you're right, though. Yeah, you're right.
When you just, I mean, there's a lot of CEOs.
Yeah.
And if you just put them all in a lineup.
That's a new data point, actually, we should consider adding. I would love to be a part of that
construction. Whose face would you rate the face you'd most like to punch? Isn't the opposite? It's the opposite of face mash. Like,
I would
hotness.
I would actually put Elon ahead of Mark. As of today,
I don't know, just on a pure face basis, you don't know who they are. Zuckerberg has a more punchable face.
It's true, and Zuckerberg's empire is more odious and harmful. But now since Musk has fired every federal worker in the last 2 months, now he's definitely more punchable to me. But look, it's tomato on those two.
I mean,
Matt, I have two fists.
That's true. That's
right.
True.
So I mean,
this problem solved.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to rate this one an 8. I'll rate the Facebook one an 8. So it's a 4 for Google, 8 for Meta.
Okay. What do you predict is going to happen with the Meta trial, by the way?
I predict that Zuckerberg will win.
Really? You think like in an appeal, or you think outright the first time he's going to win? How does he argue that this is not because of TikTok or something?
No, because of the nature of antitrust and monopoly, right?
Okay.
Like he offers a free service, and it's really hard to show consumer harm. I don't know. In my mind, even if Zuckerberg had to sell, spin off Instagram and WhatsApp. And let's say, so what does that actually mean, right? Like he spins them off, he sells them to somebody who can afford to buy them. Number one. So it would just be like, he sold it to Google.
I think his wife probably could buy them. Yeah.
Or
Priscilla Chan.
He retains a massive stake in all of them and sells them. So you're making him
and maintain shadow control or something,
right? Like he'd have some shadow control. Or he sells it to investors, and we realize that the things that he does he is actually not that good. Like if he didn't buy Instagram or WhatsApp, what is he? He's not.
Actually, I want to talk about.
Nobody cares about this fucker.
Let me talk about that. And this is like a great backdoor way of explaining one of the things that we talk about here a lot, which is why we hate dual class structures, why we hate outsized control of voting power, why we hate the boards that don't provide oversight. Here's a couple of great tidbits of why Mark Zuckerberg basically sucks. First of all,
this should be the whole show.
In 2012, he said that he was not impressed with one of the WhatsApp co-founders calling him disappointingly unambitious.
Ooh.
And then 2 years later, he bought WhatsApp for $19 billion. there's a window into Zuckerberg's insanity. And then the other one I love is, this one I really don't understand. So they had an app called Facebook Camera app, which was supposed to be a rival to Instagram, and he was bitching that the members of that team had checked out and that nobody wanted to work with the team because he thinks the team sucks.
Ooh.
But Matt, he bought Instagram like a month before he released that app. So why wouldn't they be checked out? Why, right? That he bought the company to replace the internal app, and then he's bitching about them for being checked out. It's like, yeah, because I mean, who is this guy Zuckerberg? He just sounds like a middle school fool.
Look, that was my experience. You know, frankly, so you came to MSCI through GMI.
I did.
Which you came through.
We were
Corporate
bots.
Library before that.
Yeah.
And like you were the GMI lineage, right?
We were the G in the ESG ratings. Yeah.
But when I was at MSCI, I started at Riskmetrics and then was MSCI. Well, technically Riskmetrics, I was a contractor. But we had ISS for a little while because it was part of the MSCI group.
Right.
MSCI sold ISS because they're shit. So they sold them. But then in the ESG group, we needed to replace the G. So there was actually a small group. I don't think I told you this ever. It was me and three other people in the entire organization who needed to build a whole new G.
Okay.
Like we needed to build a governance model. We didn't have a governance model. We needed to replace ISS. We had this ticking time bomb of a contract that we were going to have to replace. And the things that we were doing.
Did you actually try to build a model? Why didn't you just pull a Mark Zuckerberg and just download a pirated version of a model?
So, well, I decided to start from scratch and got crazy. Like, came up with all these. Like, I was like, why don't we do this? Why is it done this way only? Can't
I think
we
it's a
do
great
it that way also?
Could be a great opportunity, actually.
It's time to innovate. We could be the one in the space who's innovated on governance. We spent 6-7 months building stuff, testing, like checking things out, getting some data, doing all this stuff. And then one day they called me up and said, we just bought GMI. You can stop. And it wasn't, we didn't close for 6 months or something, but they basically just shut us down. And then you wonder why, we stopped trying to innovate because as soon as we were innovating,
was it because of the clients? Well, in that case, are they buying the clients of GMI? Like, what are they doing?
There were no clients.
There weren't. Okay.
There were 5 clients. You know, they were buying.
So why?
The
Why do
model.
they make that? Okay,
they were buying the model.
Okay.
That's all they bought.
All right.
They wanted your brain, and I would say
maybe
they
not
wanted
my brain.
what your brain had built. They didn't want you, which is evidenced by the fact that they then closed every GMI office.
Yeah, they laid off the Portland office within, I don't know how many years, but it was like within 3 years.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I know what these Zuckites were feeling, right? Like, they checked out. They weren't building the best thing. You're buying a fucking other company. Like, that's going to replace them anyway. All right, do we have to do more of this? Is there more?
I mean, I don't know how. See, Riverside doesn't show me how long the show is anymore. Do you want to wrap this up? Do you want to go speed round? What do you want to do?
Let's do the next. There's one more section, right? Let's do the.
Yeah,
next
we
section.
have the next section is called stakeholder shareholder activism nonsense. You want to do that one?
Yeah,
we
because
could do it relatively quickly
there is
if
a
you
couple
want.
big stories out of that.
All right, let's just go quickly here. First of all, BP suffers investor rebellion at first AGM since climate strategy U-turn. That's a weird headline. But and here's what it's based on: the fact that the chair Helga Lund got 24% votes against him in the first time in at least a decade that more than 10% of BP shareholders voted against the re-election of the chair. This is an investor rebellion. This is what
he got reelected. That's the rebellion.
But maybe we should be rethinking then. Remember, I told you that I don't think we should actually be waiting for 50% of the vote against a director. We should be more like 30% because that's the number that's considered effective control over a company if you hold 30% of shares. So I think that this headline is kind of agreeing with me that if you're really getting above 20%, it's an investor rebellion, right? I mean, everything's gone crazy.
What's the point? What's the point of?
I don't understand the point. And here's why I picked this story, Matt, too, is because they're mad at, supposedly, according to this article, and they talked to Mark Von Ball, the founder of Follow This, who said this is a clear mandate that shareholders had made it clear that weakening climate commitments is unacceptable. So they're blaming Lund for this. And yet, the new CEO, Murray Oceancloss, who is getting rid of everything ESG related, he gets only 3% against his vote. So why wouldn't you target him? Why are you targeting the chair? I don't understand.
Really showed him who's boss.
What is Follow This talking about? Why do you?
What is anybody talking about?
Okay.
Like, this is not like shareholders. Like, so the board lied to your faces.
Yeah.
The board said we're going to set this target, and then the board said we don't care about that target. They basically set a target that they had no intention necessarily of following through on. They proved that we will change our targets that are voluntary with the wind. If the political winds shift,
no
fine,
pun intended,
we change our target. We're not actually wed to anything we're doing except like making sure that, we make as much money as possible, which is fine.
Right. That's what the new CEO is saying. Yeah.
What the shareholders are effectively saying with this vote is, yes, we largely agree with the fact that we don't care if you have any morals or any we don't care if you held yourself to a standard. The only thing we want to be sure is you pivot to whatever makes us the most money. That's what this vote is, isn't it? 24%?
Well, so explain to me, who is angry at the chair? Is it the environmentalists, or is it
the pension funds? Which, when you look at the data,
for flip flopping, or for having it in the first place?
The pension funds are largely upset with the flip flopping,
the pullback,
the pullback, and the you said a thing. Like, when they do those climate targets, for instance, they talk to shareholders about that before they do that. It's not like they just set a target. Like, they often go to the shareholders themselves.
So they probably talked to Helge Lund, the chair of BP.
I'm 100% sure that pension funds, especially
he made
like
a bunch of
the
promises.
big ones like Norgis and the Bank of England or Church of England, or like like CalPERS and STIRS, NICERS.
The ones that still care.
They're talking to the board saying, like, climate change is an issue. We're going to hold on to these assets for the next 50 years. We need you to pivot so that you live through climate change. You need to, like, start preparing for that now, right? When they flip-flop on that, those are the ones who are upset. The ones who aren't upset are BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street.
The ones who probably lobbied for them to hire Murray Oceancloss in the first place, right?
There's no lobbying. They don't give a fuck who runs the company.
As long as it's not green focused.
Make sure that the stock goes up. That's all that we care about.
All right, Matt. Then explain this to me. So this article, again, I'm going to repeat. It quotes Mark Von Ball, founder of Follow This, who said that this historical result serves as a wake-up call to BP's board and emphasizes investor expectation for robust governance mechanisms and genuine leadership on ESG issues. And then there's another article, Matt, says that climate activist group Follow This pauses big oil campaign, and they said there is a lack of investor appetite has forced it to suspend its nearly decade-long campaign seeking stronger commitments for major oil and gas producers to emission cuts. So what are they talking about? So BP shareholders are into it, but they're pausing their. What's happening? What's real here?
I believe that Follow This was the shareholder proposal at
with
Exxon
Arjuna. Sued by Exxon, yeah.
They were named in the lawsuit by Exxon.
Yes.
And I think all that you're seeing is like fear. Fear.
Okay.
Fear. We're cowering now. Because the bully.
But they said there's a
money.
lack of investor appetite. Yet they're also saying there's a huge investor appetite at BP. So
bully took your lunch money. You didn't go take, karate classes to fight the bully. You decided, you know what we're gonna do? We're just not gonna eat lunch anymore. Right? Like, that's basically what you just said. We're not gonna fucking eat lunch.
I'm super pro Follow This, but honestly, it might be time to fold if the company, if this is how you're gonna treat things. You're just gonna sit on the sidelines and comment about other things. You're just not fighting anymore. I don't really understand.
It's worth pointing out though, right? Like, we talk a lot about the anti-ESG proposals and how they're only getting like 2% shareholder support. And we make fun of them. Meanwhile, the sort of air quotes pro ESG proposals, the environmental proposals and stuff like that, they get like 12%, and we're like looking down on the anti. You both lost. Like you're all fucking losers.
Right.
So when we're talking about like 24% votes against Helge Lund, we're really saying that's great because all we ever get is 12% on our shareholder proposals. That's double what we normally get. That's basically like a mandate from share. It's
Yeah, they're
like
calling
Trump
that
going out
investor
and
rebellion.
saying,
Yeah.
it's like Trump saying like there's a mandate for me to restructure the country when he didn't really win by much more than like 3 guys.
Well,
right?
not only that, but I think since not everybody voted, only really like 30% of Americans actually voted for him.
Like no one, like it's not what you think it is.
Right.
But we have to spin it as a victory for our side every single
It's
time.
depressing. Yeah. Give me a
It's
score
really
on that one.
depressing.
Give me a score on that one.
I'm going to give this one a 5 because it's not an investor rebellion.
All right, I'll try to go quickly here. This one is just, I'm just dumbfounded by this one. Explain the political theater of this one. The headline is Starbucks CEO faces major backlash after details of his work routine are revealed. The National Center for Public Policy Research is attacking from the left. They're fighting Starbucks CEO Brian Nichols' transportation practices because it's against the company's commitment to eco-friendly practices. But of course, I know this is a political theater like mind warp. So what exactly are they trying to do here? Are they trying to prove the hypocrisy of woke washing corporations? Are they actually angry at Brian Nichols for flying in his jet to the headquarters? Why are they attacking from the left? What's happening here?
So look, I've spent way too much time on their website, reading their blogs.
Yeah.
I've way too much time looking at the National Center for Public Policy Research and their sister org, the National Legal Policy Center or whatever. I will say this. The incredible cynic in me just thinks they want to increase the average votes they get for them, for their proposals.
By appealing to less than more than the lunatic fringe that they're already appealing to, you mean?
So they did a couple clever things this year so far, one of which was I think it was Apple.
Apple, yeah.
They did an AI proposal, and they did
and it was relatively reasonable what they were asking for.
Not only was it reasonable, it was actually relatively well researched. They
and there was
did some real work.
And there was no weird political theater in there where they were mad at civil rights groups
or trans person. They didn't mention wombs at all.
Yeah.
Like it was
They weren't mad at Spike Lee. Yeah.
But that proposal got like 9 or 10% support,
which is probably the highest they've ever received.
I legitimately think that they probably found something here that they can say is like, well, look, they're all hypocrites about climate change. So in their mind, they can say like, if you're hypocrites about climate change, you shouldn't be setting these stupid climate change reports. You shouldn't set these targets anyway.
Right.
It's antithetical to shareholder value. In their minds, it's still congruent with what they're doing. But in reality, this is like a 9, 10, 11% vote for the proposal. And then you can look at, then they can put out their fundraiser that says NCPPR. Average vote we're getting now is in the 7, 8, 9% range, not the 1, 2% range, proving that investors are really into our talking points about trans guys.
Well, you might be right.
Lee.
Because this is an exercise in mad science, because they're using the language of the ESG movement by saying things like they're talking like each round trip made by Nichols roughly the annual energy consumption footprint of the typical American household. I mean, they're basically co-opting language of the eco-friendly movement, right? I mean,
I'm really torn by these because I think there's some level of reasonableness to them.
Sure.
And on the merits, you can look at this and say, I agree that that said, we pointed this out when he got the job. So it wasn't unknown, but they're asking for it in a proposal, and somehow they snuck the proposal by the SEC. because they're anti-woke, so
Yeah,
the
this because
SEC
this
likes that now.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Because Exxon is celebrating the fact that it has no shareholder proposals this year, saying that the SEC let it kill the one shareholder proposal because it was micromanaging. But this also is micromanaging.
This is as micromanaging as
Because-
it gets. Like
because
the
this is
CEO's
the guy-
moving around.
Yes,
right?
this is the guy who came from Chipotle. Chipotle is a major success, so you would think that he would be the right guy, maybe to turn around another useless company like another addicted Starbucks type of company. So why would they be micromanaging where the hell he wants to live? Right? I mean,
But so I'm torn because on the merits, it's like an interesting proposal. But I also know that the intent might matter, right? Like the optics and the intent matter. Like John Chevedden puts in a proposal and I will vote for it almost no matter what he writes. Because John Chevedden I can trust has thought about shit. Like
Yeah.
he's a guy who thinks about stuff. He's been doing it for 30 years. His proposals are well, researched and
Sure.
but this group is the one that was writing about reverse discrimination against women who want to have babies and
Right.
like
Using people, yeah.
reverse discrimination by offering trans benefits but not like white male benefits.
Yeah, while
right?
quoting like Robbie Starbuck as some kind of like
As
leading
a
scholar,
source, as a leading,
yeah,
they called him citizen journalist Robbie
sure.
Starbuck.
Citizen
right?
journalist. Yeah, that's basically anyone who's not a journalist, right?
That's the same group as
Yeah.
is putting in this reasonable thing. So it's like you're voting for the group as much as the thing. I don't know. It's gonna lose. It doesn't make a difference. It's gonna
Well, I
lose.
know that, but I want to give me a score on this one.
I care about that
'Cause
one.
you seem to
it's
care. You seem to
fascinating.
care.
That one's an 8 to me.
All right, you
yeah.
have an appetite for any more, or you want to get out of here?
Yeah, no. Let's. You know what? Let's. I want to rip
All right,
through.
because again,
these.
I don't know why Riverside doesn't give me control of the clock anymore. So you can wrap us up whenever you need to. I'll stay with some of this shareholder stakeholder stuff. So we did BP, we did Starbucks. What do you think about Target now? So Target CEO Cornell meets with Al Sharpton to discuss DEI rollback. So now, okay, here's what happened. In a nutshell, first Target, they removed gay pride merchandise. And then they said no on DEI because of a democratically held election in the United States.
Yeah, they did that.
And now foot traffic is down. Everyone's gone to Costco because Costco very sort of vocally
correct.
supported DEI. And now they're scrambling. They don't know what to do. What do you think about this one?
I just think it's funny. I mean,
It is funny. I mean, funny against Brian Cornell, right? The CEO of Target for not anticipating this.
Not only did they not anticipate it, they
Yeah.
like they freaked out about like the potential losses from a customer base that largely doesn't pay attention closely to some of this stuff. Like they're loud. The loud minority actually still is the minority, as in
Yeah, the people. You mean the people shooting Bud Light cans is still the
Right.
minority? Yeah,
it turns out that just because they're loud
yeah,
doesn't actually mean they buy a lot of shit from you, because there's not a lot of them, right?
yeah. They're not there in the first place.
There is
the
a
sad
vast
irony. Yeah.
majority. I mean, and I don't mean just people I know, people who are like, I don't get why Target would roll back any of this shit, right? Like, I don't care, right? But now I think they're fickle losers, right?
Yeah.
There's some vast majority that does go to your stores and buy stuff who now aren't going to your stores because you're fickle losers.
Yeah.
And the response is, can we find any remaining faces of the civil rights movement to bring in? Right? Like literally anyone. Like Jesse Jackson is he next on the on the call list? Are you going to call him? John Lewis died sadly, so you can't call him now.
And Matt, it's worth pointing out that Brian Cornell asked for this meeting. It's not like Al Sharpton came knocking on the door. Brian Cornell wanted this meeting.
The whole thing is such theater.
Yeah.
It's such bullshit theater.
But what it's not theater is from Al Sharpton's perspective. Al Sharpton has a good quote on this, which is that he says, you can't have an election come and all of a sudden change your old positions.
Yeah.
He said, if an election determines your commitment to fairness, then fine. You have a right to withdraw from us, but then we have a right to withdraw from you. I think he puts it very, very nice, simply and clearly there.
That is simple and clear.
Right?
I just think it's like
That makes nothing. I gotta say, Matt, nothing makes a CEO, a board look worse than making this decision based on a democratically held election where it still hasn't been proven what Trump and his people is doing is even legal in the first place, which is why, most of one other story that you missed that we're not covering is why we're all cheering Harvard University for the first big entity to finally fight back, basically saying, like, what the hell are you even doing in the first place? Like,
even Harvard,
Yeah.
if we're honest, they fought back after they tried to negotiate and capitulate, and it failed.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the Trump administration
the demands from Trump were too onerous.
They were having negotiations, and then the Trump administration accidentally sent out the memorandum
Right.
with like a list of demands,
Yeah.
and then they said, "Oh, this isn't going to work. They're not going to negotiate."
Well, I don't
with
care
us."
the reason. They at least fought back.
Well, and they're going to win the fight, right?
Well,
Like,
that's just Al Sharp. That's one of Al Sharpton's simple points here. This is just like you can't you can't, and it's never happened before in corporation. We haven't seen this from boards and CEOs. Like, you can't wait for an election to happen and then change something. What's going on with that board anyway? I mean,
what is Al Sharpton going to like? Target has destroyed any brand value. Like, am I going back to Target anytime soon?
Well, I did.
Would you?
I said on these shows, I think it was a show, I think you were on this show when I talked about it. I did actually make the switch to Costco based on their support of DEI and based on what Target did. And the people at Costco themselves actually told me that their uptick in membership, they're getting so many people coming to them saying the exact thing that I'm talking about, which suggests, Matt, that they're all listeners to our show, of course.
Yeah,
right?
every single one who are joined Costco.
But that foot traffic has gone directly to Costco.
Which means if
they're
that
not going,
is the case,
and as I told you yesterday, Matt, off air, is that I'm also now realizing that Costco is 50 times better than Target. It's way better.
So what they've done is a one-way outdoor.
Yeah.
Not like, so you called Al Sharpton, you had him come and talk to who, Brian Cornell and the board, or just Brian Cornell?
Well, I don't know. Brian Cornell called the meeting.
Right?
That's a good question. I hope Dimitri Stockton, Target director, is there, because what else of the board was he on? Caterpillar, on DEI,
No, it's Deere, I think.
So
Target,
I hope Al
right?
Sharpton gives him an uncomfortable
or
bear
Harley
hug.
in Target. But like, so what is the goal now? You're bringing in Al Sharpton so that what? The people who left you are like, oh, I guess it's okay to shop there again. Your problem is, once we found somewhere else to go and built routine, it's hard. It's sticky. I'm not going back.
Yeah. Why would we? But then again, and also, why would we trust you?
Yeah. What? Yeah. Like, so in the midterm elections, what if it goes harder right? Are you going to then fire everyone with labias? Like, how does that work? Right.
Yeah.
I don't care that much about this.
Okay.
I'm giving it a 4.
All right. I think I have a couple of more. Okay. Well, I did mention Exxon. No shareholder proposal the first time in 25 years. SEC let them get rid of a proposal, and as part of this, follow this suspending. It's basically its work.
This is a 100. I care 100 about this.
I'm gonna let you have a 100 on this one,
because this is
first
the
time in
bully
25
took
years.
your lunch money, and you motherfuckers are now terrified.
Everybody is. Everyone's terrified. Not just all of this.
We should have flooded them with shareholder proposals. They should have been like every pension fund should have put in there a shareholder. They should have had 300 to deal with, not 3. In fact, they should have had proposals that said, how are you now? We want to report on your engagements with shareholders following the fact that you sued some that you didn't like. We want to know how your board is communicating with shareholders that you don't like. We want to know, like, environmental issues, social issues. We want to know, like, you said you set targets, you flipped on them. I want to know everything. I want to rip you apart. Instead, what we did was we cowered. There was only one that got put in that got rejected. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, people. ExxonMobil has been the face of climate change for 20 years. 25 years.
25 years, yeah.
For 25 years, they've been the face of climate change. and now you're quitting on it? Like
It is
during
strange,
the worst of climate change?
it's a strange time to stop. And I will say too that the article cited other companies that have no proposals this year, and I'm sure that's because of the fallout from what Exxon did. They cited Occidental Petroleum, which had one proposal last year. Dow Inc. had two proposals last year. So this is obviously there's some
The collective
this
fear,
domino effect here. Yeah.
like I get if you are a nonprofit that's been filing these shareholder proposals for 25 years and you're afraid to get sued because you don't have the budget to fight a lawsuit from ExxonMobil. But that's the point of the lawsuit.
I guess, but then what are you fighting for,
Then what are you,
right?
yeah, what are you doing? What's the point of what you're doing? It takes 9 seconds to set up another nonprofit. Frankly, you should be going to every funder that you have and telling them, we got sued. That is actually a badge of honor. We are doing something to force change. This should be, you should
It's like Lenny
fund the
Bruce
shit
getting
out of
arrested
us.
in the 50s for his stand-up comedy, right? It was a badge of honor.
You
Absolutely.
should fund the shit out of us. Like after they got sued, I'm happy to donate to these places.
Yeah.
Like that's
Well,
the
Matt,
way it should work.
That's
but
a good
now
point.
we're cowering.
I-
You fucking back off and cower at the worst possible moment. This is exactly when you need to fight.
I know occasionally, if you're still listening to this show, I know occasionally I say something stupid, and some of our listeners actually do respond to some of the stupidity I say. I'll say this right now: if you're one of these organizations like Follow This that's pulling back this year, and it's not just Follow This clearly, and you're
As
trying,
You Sow is pulling back.
right?
Everyone's pulling back.
and you're trying to figure out a new path forward, like, reach out to us. We would love to partner with any of these organizations and think of a different way of fighting back. It doesn't have, let's just say it's not shareholder proposals this year, but there are myriad ways of fighting back. We could target directors, or we could just come up with marketing campaigns, different ways of telling investors and consumers about what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve. Don't just do nothing.
What you just said is brilliant. I'll never say that again, but it's brilliant.
Well, you're getting tired too. Your coffee's wearing off.
Coffee is wearing off.
Big show, yeah.
That's 100% correct. The way to fight back is don't submit a shareholder proposal. Do a nonstop set of campaigns to vote against directors. You won't win, but that's not the point. The people here are the ones taking your lunch money. It's not the faceless organization. It's fucking Darren Woods and his cronies on the board.
Right?
Vote against all of them.
An identifiable subset of Exxon. It's not just a random Exxon.
And don't vote against them at Exxon. Vote against them on every board they sit. Make it your priority to say, these are people who are willing to fly in the face of what a shareholder asks. They are willing to sue their own shareholders they don't agree with. They were willing to bypass due process everywhere they possibly can. These are people who do not deserve board seats. Not only do they not do what they said they were going to do when they set targets and all that kind of shit, but they also are willing to sue you for asking them to do stuff. As the owner, they're suing you. You should be setting up vote no campaigns on every single director. You should not be sitting down and saying, okay, we won't do any more proposals. We got to figure out what we're going to do. No, this year you should have said vote no on every motherfucker on all these boards.
Yeah, and you know what? And if you're worried that you're hitting the wrong targets because some of the directors actually voted like no on some of these things, then let them come out and tell you how they voted.
Let them say it.
Tell us how you let Exxon tell us how you handled these meetings when it came time to sue your shareholders. Let us know. Maybe we will withhold. Maybe we will support some directors knowing how they handled that. I'm guessing it was groupthink. It was an unanimous decision, but whatever. Like, make Exxon do a thing, say a thing.
And it's not just Exxon. We just talked about Target
That's
and
true,
Dimitri
that's true.
Stockton, who's on 2 different boards that have rolled back DEI.
Right.
These are the things that these shareholders have been putting proposals in for 2 decades. Now you are in a position where you're like, okay, the shareholder proposals, the SEC is going to stop allowing them. And we're just only going to let anti-woke proposals in pretty soon. It's going to be no more shareholder proposals that look woke. But they cannot stop you from voting against a director. They cannot stop you from saying Dimitri Stockton should not be on another fucking board anywhere because he's a guy who's willing to roll back every single target they make. He's perfectly happy for voluntary targets to get thrown out the window. Everyone on Exxon, vote against them everywhere. We can make short lists for you. We can spend all day doing podcasts and live streams and like social posts saying like, here's the face of the enemy. Forget the fucking proposals where you got 12% and called it a victory and use that for funding. Put a face to it.
Yeah,
These
follow
are the
this.
people who fucked up.
People that follow this, we'll even release if you want to do a regular podcast about this issue, we'll put you out under the Free Float Media umbrella.
Bring it. I care 100 about that. Yeah.
Okay, and I'll let you decide. This is another maybe too long of a story, so we can wrap up here. Maybe we can cover this in the proxy countdown instead. But the last story I was going to cover was the mess going on at Harley Davidson.
I love that.
Do you want to talk about now, or do you want to wait for the proxy countdown?
Let's do it shortly, and then we'll do a long version on proxy countdown.
So the headline I picked was Harley Davidson slams activist investor saying its campaign is messing up its CEO search. So all of this stemmed right around when you left. Jared Dordeville, he's at H Partners. H Partners owns about 9% of Harley shares. He stepped down from the board from Harley, had a very public resignation, which we don't often see, basically referring to a cultural depletion at Harley. One of the reasons why is he's angry at work from home policies, but what we kind of learned is that what he was really angry about was that they didn't, the board did not want the CEO that he has picked that H Partners wants to replace Harley CEO Jochen Zeitz. So now there's a big proxy contest, and what H Partners is doing is actually not trying to put its directors on the board. They're starting a withhold campaign against 3 directors already on the Harley board. That includes CEO Chair Zeitz, who's already stepping down as CEO, lead director Norman Thomas Linnebarger, and long-term director Sarah Levinson, who the 3 of them combined control 63% of board influence, according to our data. So they are good targets. So this is the kind of mess going on at Harley-Davidson, Matt. I don't know how much you've read about this or know about this, but that's the highlight.
The 2 things struck me. One is that we had Durdeville's influence number wrong because he's a representative of H Partners and they have 9.1%.
Well, I don't know when they accumulated that 9%. Have they had that 9% for a while?
They've had it for a long time. They're a long-time shareholder.
So we missed...
So we missed that he's a representative, and it's not just us that missed it. It's a lot of our third-party.
Yeah, because we usually wait for other entities to tag the directors as significant shareholders so that we can then know. Because we can't go over every director. Right,
so we buy a bunch of data. So that's number one. But more important and more interesting, what is the combined shareholdings of Zeitz, Linneberger, and Levinson?
This can't be much, right?
1%?
Is it
0.1%?
Is it that high, you think? Yeah.
And
what's your point?
My point is that the guy who resigned represented a group that has 9% of the shares, and they didn't listen to him.
Okay, but
what fucking universe do you live in, people? Talk about an insular board.
Yeah.
Because that's like I own your company. I'm one of the largest single shareholders of this company. And you won't listen to what I'm saying. And the only thing he was saying was that rather than Zeitz staying on in his role until a successor is found, they said, just get out now. We don't need you to find a successor.
Right, but it's confusing. There's something else going on underneath this that I'm not really sure about. One of the things is that I think H Partners might be part of this group is angry that Harley Davidson has gone quote unquote woke, and they want them to pull back from their wokeness. And I think that's what cultural depletion is referring to. Is that Harley Davidson? Part of what the new CEO was doing, and I think he came from brands like Puma, he came from like European brands, was he was trying to make Harley Davidson appeal to not just white, hairy dudes, right? Like, he was trying to broaden the appeal of the brand. And for some reason, I think people like H Partners is suggesting that that's woke. I guess woke now means, Matt, if you invite anyone to the party that's new. Right? That's woke, I guess, right? Anyone we're not comfortable with is woke. So I don't know if that's part of what H Partners is doing here, and I don't know if it's because it's a political thing or because they think that actually hurts the bottom line of the brand. I don't know if this is
Well,
a
the
Bud
best
Light
part-
thing.
The
But
best
why-
part about
but-
this,
Yeah, but let me ask you this before you ask me that. Before you say that, why resign in protest? Why not keep the board position and fight from that? Why does he need to resign? I don't understand.
they are setting up. This is not an activist campaign in which they are slating directors.
Right, they're just withholding votes
They are voting. It's a vote no campaign
on
against
3 directors. Yeah,
3 directors.
but why? So
and
why should
that's
he
it.
step down? Why not stay?
I think the bylaws of the company are like they're going to be down 4 directors, right? Like if the vote no campaign is successful, he's
Which it probably
resigned and
won't
there's
be,
3 others. Like they're going to be under the minimum amount of people that they require to have the board constituted, a quorum. I think you could fuck with them in a totally different way. Also, there's some recognition, I think, that because he had so little influence on the board to make change.
But he's one director. But I hear what you're saying. He represents a significant shareholder. But Matt, there's still 40. Even when you take out H Partners out of the equation, still 44% of shareholdings is held by institutional investors, including BlackRock, Vanguard. Do you think they're going to care about this withhold vote? I don't know why they would care, but I don't know. I just don't really get. I don't really get the battle here, other than that. Is this kind of a political theater battle? Is this like a trying to get some attention here?
I think. Well, it is. It's all political theater,
Right.
So,
And I like theater. And Jared Dorteville, I actually reached out to him on LinkedIn. So I know you're listening, Jared, because you accepted my connection. I invited Jared to come on the show. Come on the Proxy Countdown. He could.
I'd love to talk to him.
We could talk about all of this. Go ahead. Support. We'll support. We love vote no campaigns. Come on the show.
I'm going to give this a 7. We'll talk more
Okay.
about it on Proxy Countdown.
I still don't really know what you think, but
I don't know.
maybe you don't know what to think.
I don't know what any of the scores meant for the entire show. So,
Yeah.
that's a totally different
It's a
problem.
lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
I'm exhausted. That was an hour.
Well, this is what happens when you leave. We do kind of get backed up, but I'm glad we could kind of clear the deck a little bit here. We got rid of some stuff.
All right. We're clean now. So come back. We're actually got a doubleheader we're doing tomorrow.
Okay,
Because
what does
I'm
that
gone
mean?
on Friday again.
But can we? Is the show coming out on Friday? When's it coming
I
out?
don't know what we'll do. We'll figure
Doesn't
something
matter.
out. There'll be shows this week. Just go see them.
There's more shows. Yeah.
That's Hazelnut Rallis. I'm your analyst, Tom Mascardi. We are Free Flow. We will be back again this week. We'll be back again next week. We're getting back to our regularly scheduled programs shortly, as fast as possible when I'm done with work travel. Until then, bye.